I've always felt discouraged from playing FromSoftware games. They're brutally challenging and have a vague style of storytelling that's not the most accessible. After throwing myself at a boss for over an hour, I just don't have the patience left to puzzle a story together from obscure dialogue and item descriptions. While that's not my idea of fun, I'm still drawn to their stories, so for a long time I watched these games from the sidelines. It wasn't until Sekiro Shadows Die Twice and its focus on more traditional narrative and less muscle memory from previous titles that I finally experienced the FromSoftware brand of storytelling for myself. Now, I learned a whole lot from my first time getting good, and I have a new appreciation for their unique flavor of narrative. But what really stuck with me the most was just how well Sekiro's story blends with its gameplay. In Sekiro, you play as Wolf, the shinobi to Lord Kuro. Thanks to his supernatural bloodline, Kuro's given you the ability to resurrect. Now, as you can imagine, that's an extremely powerful tool in the game's fictional Japan, so it's your job to protect Kuro from those after his power. This premise makes resurrection both a core gameplay mechanic and central story focus. The narrative design of Sekiro weaves this idea throughout its plot, its world, and other gameplay elements. So, in this video, let's take a look at a few examples of how Sekiro masterfully blends its pulse-pounding gameplay and dramatic storytelling together. Sekiro's story is inspired by its resurrection mechanic. It uses the opposing ideals of its main characters to explore different perspectives on its version of immortality. The strongest example of this is the main conflict between Lord Kuro and Lord Genichiro. As the protagonist, Kuro believes that his immortality corrupts the lives of men, and he's got a very good reason for thinking this. Kuro's power makes him a valuable target, and many people have died because of it. It's no surprise that Kuro feels severing his immortality is the only thing he can do to protect others.
The immortal oath, the rejuvenating waters, the dragon rot, they all corrupt men, to the point that they no longer live as men. I wish to sever the chains of stagnation bred by the dragon's heritage. Wolf, will you help me achieve this aim?
In contrast, Genichiro believes that Kuro can protect others by using his gift. Now, this motivation comes from his fear of invasion. The Interior Ministry has been eyeing the land of Ashina for some time, and their rats are already closing in.
We managed to drive them back once, but the Interior Ministry's army is far too powerful.
And that is why you wish to use the power of my blood. It doesn't matter how much power you obtain. You'll keep on fighting until you're a monster, incapable of feeling pain or fear. I do not wish to corrupt the lives of men.
Look at this mountain of bodies. Ashina cannot be defended by more.
Genichiro asks Kuro to build him an immortal army so he can protect his people, but Kuro declined his request. This drives Genichiro to kidnap him and seek out other means to protect his adopted home.
Face me.
Sekiro is a game about clashing swords, so this conflict manifests in many of its boss battles. Kuro denies Genichiro access to his power 3 times, and each time Genichiro goes to increasingly radical extremes to wield immortality, forcing Wolf to step in and fight him. Through these boss fights, not only are Wolf and Genichiro in physical conflict, but so are Kuro and Genichiro's beliefs. To protect others, should immortality be used, or should it be severed? Sekiro's narrative design uses its resurrection mechanic to create conflict between its characters. This tension drives the main plot and shapes many of the game's boss fights. By combining gameplay and story, the fights between Wolf and Genichiro are more than a demanding physical challenge. They represent one character's beliefs succeeding over the others. After the spark powder settles, the best way to protect the people of Ashina is to sever the power that puts them in danger. The narrative design of Sekiro doesn't stop at the main plot. It also uses the game world to argue for immortal severance. Many of the locations you visit in Sekiro have been corrupted by immortality in different ways, and Senpo Temple is my favorite example of this. High atop Mount Kongo, the Senpo Temple is no longer the holy grounds that it used to be. The monks of the monastery have abandoned their Buddhist faith to unlock the secrets of immortality, and to a certain extent, they've been successful. but their quest has corrupted them in more ways than one. As you traverse the temple grounds, you encounter these decrepit monks clothed in tattered white. They're infested with centipedes and can't be killed by conventional means. In becoming a host for the parasite, they've achieved a form of immortality, but as their decaying bodies become little more than puppets, they've sacrificed their humanity to do so. Now, not all the monks you encounter are immortal, but they are all corrupt. As part of their research, the monks believed they could create an immortal being much like Kuro. To do this, they experimented on hundreds of children. Their pinwheels are scattered about the temple grounds. The divine child of rejuvenation is both their only success and the only survivor. Through their horrible experiments, the search for immortality corrupted the monks of Senpo Temple, stripping them of their humanity. The narrative design of Sekiro weaves its story themes into the game world. In places like Senpo Temple, we walk through the aftermath of immortality's corruption. We see the damage it's done through both the physical space and the things that inhabit it. By just being in these places, we learn that to protect others, immortality must be severed. Sekiro's narrative design comes full circle by exploring immortality through other aspects of gameplay. Enemy types, bosses, and tools are all influenced by Sekiro's themes and experiment with them in different ways. Of these elements, I feel that the Dragon Rot system succeeds the most, combining both Sekiro's story themes and the original resurrection mechanic. Dragon Rot is an illness that affects most friendly NPCs. When you resurrect at one of the Buddhist shrines scattered throughout Ashina, you risk spreading it. The more people you infect, the higher your chances of losing half your coins and experience on death. If that wasn't a big enough setback, infected NPCs can't progress their questlines. You can only cure Dragon Rot a finite number of times, so it's very possible to exhaust your resources and stagnate progression. Dragon Rot also has narrative context. Wolf requires life energy to resurrect, and during combat he revives using his own energy, but if he doesn't have any left, his resurrection draws on the energy of others. This is the cause of Dragon Rot. Through this mechanic, you're not just respawning at a checkpoint, each death affects those around you. Your immortality is corrupting the landscape, and the game's few friendly faces are literally dying from how bad you are at the game. Through systems like Dragon Rot, Sekiro uses gameplay to explore its story themes. Having both gameplay and narrative consequences for resurrection reinforces the danger of immortality. By dying and resurrecting over and over, and over and over, we choke the life from those around us. Severing immortality is the only way our actions will stop hurting others. Sekiro's shift in gameplay and narrative style finally gave me the confidence to try the FromSoftware brand of storytelling. And I'm so glad that I did. I had no idea what I was missing out on. I sweat through boss fights, found obscure connections, and got to experience Sekiro's narrative design firsthand. Sekiro's story draws inspiration from its gameplay, then explores its ideas through its plot, its world, and its mechanics. Every major struggle, space, and system connect to characters, locations, and themes. Sekiro's narrative design fuses its gameplay and story, making every exhilarating fight and dramatic scene better because of the other. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sekiro really kicked my ass, but I had a whole lot of fun playing it. It really made me excited to take another shot at games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Now, I know these games are loved for their story and lore, so please leave a comment sharing your favorite piece of FromSoftware storytelling. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.